From Cask Cartel, this is the Cartel Hour. I'm Cameron Stevens.
And my name is Seth Benheim.
Together, we're tasting all kinds of spirits with master distillers, celebrity guests, and more. We're here to learn a little bit and drink a little bit. So grab a glass and let's enjoy. Welcome back to the Infusery for another episode of the Cartel Hour. My name is Cameron Stevens.
And my name is Seth Benheim.
And we have none other than Clown from Slipknot joining us today. And we're going to be drinking through some whiskey. Clown, how's it going, man?
It's going great. Thank you very much. Just, I guess I'm just doing what everybody else is doing, trying to stay busy, trying to keep the mind activated into positive things and, hanging out, just enjoying life, I guess, as much as you can.
Gotcha.
Nice.
And I assume, are you in Iowa?
I am. We just built a new house. Well, it's not so new now. Just I'm a lake guy, so I never could get to the lake. We only have one really big lake here, and I never could get to the lake quick enough. So we found a little piece of land, built a house. So I'm in a northern suburb of Des Moines called Johnston. A little bit more wilderness, a little bit out, but just beautiful. But yeah, I'm here in town, and I've been here since our last tour in Europe,
Yeah. Are you getting hit with the crazy winter stuff that's happening? Or are you relatively sheltered?
I am home generally this time of year, and I don't really remember it being quite like this for a while. Usually there's no snow and it's cold, but we have snow and a lot of it. And today it was supposed to be -4. And yesterday it was like 1 degree and
that's not enough degrees.
Makes you angry. It can make you very, very, very angry.
Yeah. Well, yeah, one of the places where I would love to start is obviously we have your whiskey in front of us.
Yeah.
Do you happen to have any with you at the moment, or?
I have a bottle, 15 foot from me, yes.
Well, it's totally up to you. Yeah.
To have
if you would like, we're going to obviously taste it at
we're getting
after
into it.
noon and in our time. So it's gonna be a good day.
I would love for you guys to taste it. I'm gonna wait. I have some people coming in to work on some music tonight. I gotta kind of wait. We had a long one last night, but in a little bit I'll go get my bottle and please start so we can talk and you can tell me what you think while you're enjoying it, hopefully.
Sounds good.
I really want to know the genesis of the brand, getting into the whiskey business. You coming from the world you come from and stepping into our world of spirits and whiskey and this whole different industry that I'm sure you had plenty of and many experiences with all throughout your career. And just the places you've been and the experiences you've had, but now you're in the business side of it and you've got this brand out. How did that start? How did that come to be?
It's a really good question. I haven't really shared the full story, because there's a lot to every story. The main story is that I sort of wanted to design a moonshine. It began as a moonshine because everything starts to shine, basically, and I wanted to dedicate it to my grandfather. But as I started learning quicker and just as much as I could, I definitely moved to the corn whiskey, and just wanted to keep it whiskey because it ends up being the thing that I love more than anything that has alcohol. I'm not a big beer fan. So I always wanted to make, I want to start with a shine and then work my way up to some really fancy stuff. But some of the story that I haven't told is basically the only things I didn't fail at in school were art, lunch, and PE, right? I don't think it was any teacher's faults. but I couldn't grab interest in anything. No math, no history, no science of any sort. But as I've gotten older, things like, liquids turning to vapor, things fermenting, time, pressure, these things that I couldn't wrap my head around younger, because I hadn't even opened up the brain I was going to open up for myself to begin with, let alone let's try to figure out something in school. So most of this, just to wrap back around, is like sort of a failed education, and just not, offering myself the ability to learn. And then when it comes into where I have the ability to handle something as intense as this, to make a spirit, and most people couldn't even imagine what goes into it. And I don't pretend to be an expert in any one percentage of any of it, because I'm going to keep learning every day. But it's every one of those little things that can be turned on its side that could change something and make something new for all of us. I mean, we live in somebody else's imagination anyway, in reality. So my dream is always to bring something from here and have it in front of you there, and have it be real in this reality. So I'm fascinated with a failed education where I can now use the internet, which sometimes I find as a negative thing, use it as a positive thing to help reinforce the knowledge that I'm trying to get behind what it takes to make what's in front of you, which is, I mean, it's amazing. There's a lot of love and science and muscle and mental, a lot of stuff, a lot of hard work.
Well, and of course you get a better outcome, right? I mean, when you're in school, it's like, okay, well, you pass or fail a test, yeah, whatever. But when you pass the test, then you get whiskey in this instance, which is a way better outcome, and it's probably far more motivating.
I can safely tell you, I've been trying to make whiskey, at least good whiskey, what we thought was good, for almost 10 years. And I'm still learning every single day from people much older, much wiser than me. And so I think what you said is eternally true. There's always something more to learn about everything that goes into making a spirit, a whiskey, from the chemistry of it, and every element that it takes to kind of go from an idea to what's sitting in front of us. And I love the fact that you've kind of said now that this was an idea. You wanted to create a moonshine, which then led to a corn whiskey. Although I did see you have an Iowa, we don't have it in front of us, but you have an Iowa shine that does exist, right? It's a third product.
We did a little Christmas, we just want to do something for everybody. Because we could, just something fun, stuff I like to do. And they brought it to me, and it's a great idea. So we got to have a little fun. And yeah, we used the same bottle as the small batch there, and the same label, just put on different art to make it sort of collectible. But yes, there's a limited little run. So I haven't seen it or got to taste it yet, but that's because I want everybody else to have it much before I have it.
Hopefully they saved you a bottle.
Yeah, I would imagine they probably.
I mean, I had to pick the recipe, that took time. And that's always a fun process, because we break it down into many different tasting elements, stuff with rye or it's very precise, and you got to put your head around it. Sometimes, pardon me, I invite some of my closest friends. We just sip, and we try to come up with what's in there and these sorts of things. So it was great that I was allowed to, on a fun level, make a limited run of Clown's Iowa Shine.
There you go.
Because that's how that's how it all starts. And for me, I feel like before it goes into the barrel, I always wanted it first. I want to be able to look at that juice and then know where it's going, and then be able to look at it. It's one thing to go into a store and go, hey, look at this bourbon or look at this whiskey and look at its color. I like its shine. It's beautiful. and all this stuff. But it's another thing to just mesmerize yourself through a clear liquid that you've made and know what it took to do what that is, but then put it in some wood. And so it goes to levels, so I like that, just to try and keep bringing it around.
Evolution.
I love the whole thing of it, and I'm obsessed with it, and I don't know which part of it I'm gonna like try to be the master of. I don't know. Like right now, you'd never guess what my biggest dilemma is in the whole thing.
Well, what is it?
I don't know.
I mean, if either one of you get it right, I'll give you
biggest dilemma.
I'll get you a case of either the reserve or the.
Oh, now I gotta take a crack.
I'll get you one case of each, or both. Who cares? But if you get it right, what would you believe if I'm obsessed with the whole thing? What is my number one dilemma that I'm trying to figure out right now?
You want to go first?
You get one guess too.
Okay, so this is a bit of an off the wall guess, but I do happen to know you have a background in sort of like cinematography, videography. So I'm wondering if it has something to do with like a video campaign, movie, something surrounding the bottle, like from a marketing standpoint. That's where my mind went.
I would say supply. How do you make enough of it at the, how does your quality and your quantity line up to where you can make enough of it that's old enough, because it has to age a certain amount of time, that you can keep getting the supply you need of the exact finished product you want. That's my guess.
Both excellent guesses.
Both wrong.
I'm still gonna send you some bottles, but
okay.
Basically to bring it around, what I'm obsessed with right now and studying and have been studying until I guess the way I study is I put things in the background in front of me and I listen to everybody say similar things, and I guess that creates the quick hypothesis for myself. But I'm starting with what it starts with: water.
Okay.
The name whiskey comes from the word water, basically. So it's like most of the greatest places and the greatest whiskey places, in my opinion, are on their own freshwater springs. And I mean, how amazing and beautiful is that? I mean, already every bottle's different. Yeah. No matter what you do to it, no matter how you filter it or what it is, you can have a percentage and say, oh yeah, this water, we've cleaned it, it's all this. But every drop is different. It comes out of the ground, and that fascinates me. Before it can be anything, the science, and then go into the tree to grab those elements and those minerals and just all that. It begins with water, which we are made up of. So I try to think like, how much whiskey should we really have in us? What's the right what would be the perfect proof, to have to safely just consist of water and drink water, life water, as we call it there. But so that's what I do. I pick these subjects that are along the lines of what goes into this wonderful alchemy, if you will, and just see if there's anything I can contribute to what everyone has contributed it to. And there's a science that has to be followed. It's like you said, you've been going for 10 years and you're not happy with your outcome, but that's because you're looking for a reward. You know what it is you want, and you're going to find it maybe in the mathematics, maybe in the clock, maybe in the ingredients, maybe in the time. We don't know, but the more love you put into it, obviously you're gonna
the better it gets.
The better it gets.
Yeah.
You'll finally go, this is it. And that's how a company like Cedar Ridge, that's how I got to be in front of you right there, is somebody that just keeps grinding away at it and knows and dedicates a lifetime. So,
well, let's talk a little bit about Cedar Ridge. And
Yeah.
how
Do you want to pour a little bit?
But while we're doing that,
Yeah,
I think
please.
you're gonna start with a small batch. You're not gonna get into the big boy first.
We're gonna go up in proof,
work our way up there.
But if you do suggest the,
well, I always like starting with the reserve, because then you know where you stand, and then you get to a small batch, like, okay, all right, I can deal a little bit more.
well,
Fair
I'll pour
enough.
them both out. I'm gonna nose them both, and I'll
Yeah.
probably try them. Go back and forth, maybe.
Yeah.
If that's
Yeah.
a
Hey,
plan.
you know the rules. There's no
No wrong way.
Yeah,
to
we
drink
know the
whiskey.
rules. There's no rules.
yeah, there's no rules. There can't be any rules when it comes to this.
Well, I wanted to ask you this, just from the way that you talk about this process and your involvement in this process, you strike me as a very hands-on guy that wants to be hands-on with the creative. So I would love if maybe you could tell some stories about what that early process looked like, maybe as you were thinking about, conceptualizing the whiskey, or maybe right as you were meeting with Cedar Ridge to actually sort of birth this thing. Talk me through that.
Life is art to me, and I wanted to get into this art. So I have a great family around me that brought many great people to me, and me to them, to have meetings to discuss spirits and alcohol. And when I went to Cedar Ridge, it's in a city. It's outside of a city that's very close to another city where I went to college, Iowa City, Iowa Hawkeyes. I'm born and raised in Des Moines, but I would commute and went to a community college in Iowa City. So Cedar Rapids is very close. And there was also a club there that you could play when we were coming up, not when I was coming up in Slipknot, but other bands. There were clubs in Iowa City and clubs in Cedar Rapids. So when I went there and I saw their facility, just beautiful Iowa rolling hills, they have their own wine going, their own grapes going, their own vines. They have a pond. They were telling me stories about having the city out and just having barbecues and, just a community, and one begins to ask yourself, can you actually have a community around alcohol? Well, of course you can, you know what I mean? Because it's still something that's been created that's beautiful. It just has to be responsible. I mean, we can still have things that surround it. So just going there, meeting them, eating with them. We're all the same people. I know how to talk to them. They know how to talk to me. We don't have to try and put on any stories. Not that I do that with anyone anyway, but it just felt like home. It's only 90 minutes from home. I recognize it. And then basically I was allowed to go around and taste barrels. That's a lot of fun. And I just brought my wife, my best friend, to make sure that I'm thinking everything through correctly, that we're doing everything correctly, for the right reasons. And we got to taste little amounts of many, many different barrels that were just cracked right there for us, and walked around, and I could smell it. And I could see
smell.
Getting in that barrel out. Oh my God, it's incredible.
It's great.
I could see it coming out of the barrels. I could see, I didn't see, insects or things, like, of course, but it just made me think of just raw, beautiful recipe creating.
And so you went to Cedar Ridge, you went to them and said, I want to make my whiskey with you.
You approached them with this.
Yes. Basically my management, knew I wanted to do this. So we have a very strict criteria, and they found Cedar Ridge and were able to have great discussions amongst themselves. And then I'm brought into it because the shoe's going to fit. I've been doing this a long time, and I hate to say it. Yeah, I love it when the shoe fits, man.
Well, I mean, you guys
no one likes to walk with shoes that don't fit. So I have a great family that helps me get closer quicker. And, obviously if I'm patient, I just wait and I let everybody do what they do. I'm brought in and then I can do what I can do. And then it's very natural. It was very quick from there. Just seeing it, smelling it, knowing it's in my backyard, people just like myself, similar morals. You know what I mean? Just.
There aren't a ton of distilleries in Iowa. I can't imagine there's a more than maybe 20 in the state or less. I mean, it's one of those fewer distilling licensed states in America, and it's also it's worth mentioning. I mean, I think a lot of people listening, whether they're Slipknot fans or whether they're our fans that are whiskey fanatics that are just learning a little bit more about Slipknot through the whiskey and going the other direction. It's worth mentioning you guys you're from Iowa, born and raised, as you mentioned. One of your flagship albums was called Iowa with a 15-minute song called Iowa. So I think it's incredibly
it's a beating heart for you guys. It's for sure.
It is the backbone of who you guys are and what you guys do. So I can't imagine you guys would have gone to Indiana or Kentucky to produce a whiskey, where it's very easy and very common to source whiskey from, number one. And number two, it's really nice to see, for example, that this was something you guys wanted to do, whereas a couple other celebrity and or name brand groups or people were presented the opportunity to make a whiskey, and it was someone else's idea. Like, hey, we want to make a whiskey and we want you to be the face of it. Now we're drinking some really delicious whiskey. We did start on the 45%.
I did. I like to work my way up in alcohol percentage, but
okay. So the color right away, I'm going to tell you the color is a lot lighter on the
very much so
on the Iowa whiskey small batch, which is the 45%.
Nice proof there at 45% too. It's nice
proof.
That it's not at 40. It's very easy to just kind of do something that's gonna.
Big nose, like
yeah.
Jumping out of the glass, big nose, a lot of corn. And I know it's locally grown Iowa corn.
As you can imagine, I grew up, corn. Our whole state is corn. And, there was never a month that went by that my dad wasn't pointing to crops that were being ready to be planted. Here we go. Do you know what it takes to make corn? I mean, it's entered an element that had been in my entire life into something.
Yeah.
We did that in the band. I'm 1/9 of the band. We felt that it's very hard to explain why calling the album Iowa and how it all came together. I mean, there was nothing more correct than that for a sophomore album, just to come out like, we're the type of band back then everyone sort of wanted to see fail a little bit, maybe because you loved us, I don't know, or maybe you just hated us. But the thing is by a sophomore record, it's like, this is who we are, we're not going away.
Well, you couldn't ignore
we have no problem saying who we are, where we're from, what we're going to do, what's up. And this is, so the corn, big attraction for me to begin with. It's the starting point. I taste a lot of different things, and I'm really big on proofs too. That's the other thing, is just that's a whole window there. I don't think it's overlooked. I just think it's standardized. I just think everybody's like, it has to be a certain proof to be considered this sort of spirit or something like that or whatever. But I'm like, it's like Spinal Tap said, they got the amp that goes to 11. I want a 47 proof for it. I like to think weird, but proof has been a thing, but I haven't been able to break it or really see that, but I understand it through the nose. I understand it through the feeling in the chest and all that. So I'm trying to perfect that to something that's different in this world too. But again, what part of it do you pick to go down first? So.
Well, speaking of the proof, I mean, sometimes at 45%, there are definitely 45% whiskeys that kind of lack in body, and this does not do that whatsoever.
Yeah,
there's a really nice kind of rich oak backbone to it.
Most master distillers will tell you 46 is the distiller's proof, or 92 proof, 46%. And so you see a lot of Scotch whiskey from decades or even a century ago that was made at 46%, 92 proof. So this is right up there in that wheelhouse. I really rarely believe anybody can decipher between a single percent or two proof. That's too close to call. So this is really in that wheelhouse of what a distiller wants you to be tasting.
Yeah,
I agree. And I don't think I absolutely agree with you. You're not gonna know that difference, but only up in here in the science of it is where I'm getting at it. You know what I mean? That's all. It's right. They're very good. Obviously, they've been doing it forever. And they got it down, and they really were pushing the proofs on me in the tasting, and I was, it's sort of funny because, I'm in a metal band. So it's like, do we want to
take it up?
You know what I mean? So there was a lot of minds thinking differently on how we could approach that. And again, we just always bring it back to what it is before it's sold by the likes of me or by or who I am or what I can do with it. We you know what I mean? So but yeah, there were a lot, the proofs have always been interesting to me, the little tastings we have to do, and I got to wrap my head around rye and this proof and all this stuff, and it's great.
Well, you mentioned that you got a chance to obviously do a bunch of tastings to get to where we are today. Can you tell us a little bit about what it felt like to be in maybe those initial tastings? And speaking of proof, did they give you higher proof and and lower proof? And did you work to this one? And how did that process go?
We all know here that whiskeys that are unopened, that are 100 years old, that are famous, that are drinkable. Some people drink them, some people buy them to invest, for all these reasons. But the point is the love for the juice. So the one thing I loved about the whole tasting thing was most of it was in little bottles about this big, because we're trying to make quick decisions. So I would just quickly wrap my head around there's always 3 bottles at a time. So I have all those bottles, and they're all dated, and they are basically what makes up what is standing in front of you, and there's still much of it left. And that process and seeing those in a little box together, knowing that they make up the thousands that have been sold, and it's just little bit of recipe here that was collected or whatever. So I'm quite fascinated with an unmarked bottle at the brewery, at their place. And, we're not there to, open a bottle or whatever. We're there to taste and try to understand. So a lot of the look and all the other things have to go away. And it sort of begins with this and this, and then you can get this in there. So I'm fascinated with the tasting. And then, there's just so much to it.
I was in Kentucky, and first time I ever saw this bottle, and I quickly looked it up because I didn't even, it was on the shelf, and it doesn't say Slipknot on the front, right?
Right.
I saw the bottle, and I was like, okay, this is familiar to me, but I don't know why. And then I turned it, I looked it up. I didn't turn it around to see the Slipknot logo on the back of the bottle. So I looked it up and I go, oh, it's Slipknot. I'm like, oh, I get it. The 9, I get the whole thing. It took me like a couple seconds, but I saw it in Kentucky, and that was maybe a year or two ago. So kind of like rapid fire questions here, but how long has the brand actually been out, and where is it available?
It's been out. I couldn't give you the exact date. We can get that to you, but it's a couple years now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're approaching a little bit over a couple. It's been in a lot of places in the United States. Again, I can't tell you each place, because basically what I do is when we're on tour, as you can imagine, this is a very, very locked down business, which, you just abide by, and for safety and pardon me. So where it goes and where it can get is all up to, big boys. So
Yeah.
it's been able to get to London. It's been in Amsterdam. And there were a couple others that I can't remember. And there was like 3 or 4 when we were on a Europe tour, but I bring it up because that's quite a thing to do, to have, pardon me, different countries collaborate on something, and then just get it done and allow it legally. And I bring it up this way because I have a bus driver when we're touring in England, and he's a really good friend of mine. And I got him a bottle at the London signing, and when I handed it over to him, I was like, oh my God, I forgot something. This has a stamp on it, and there's only 1,000 of them here. So there's only 1,000, like 600 to 1,000, whatever it was. But I'm like, in all of life, there's only going to be this many that were in this country with this country's stamp on it. That there alone. And he's like, do you want it back? Did you get one for yourself? And I was like, yeah, I sort of do want it back, because I love stamps and things like that. But I was like, no, man, just remember that. I mean, drink it, do whatever you want. But there were only so many of these bottles brought over that have this stamp with this year. And that is special. And I will meet fans for the rest of my career that will have those bottles, that will want them to be continuously signed over and over. Yeah, hey, Clown, you signed this in 2019, and will you sign it again? And I mean, that's what it's about, and that's part of that. If it doesn't get drank out of the bottle, it seems okay, because it's something that was made with time anyway. The water, the corn, and everything's time. So if it sits there for someone's whole generation, for the love of the band or the love of the juice or the love of the craft, I mean, I think I'm doing the right thing.
I wanted to let people know that what we're drinking, just full transparency. So the mash bill here, I correct me if I'm wrong, on both whiskeys is I believe 56% corn, 36% rye, which is really high rye. I think there are very few whiskeys that are that high, and 8% malted barley.
Yeah.
So it's a really high rye mash.
Well, and
bill.
this reserves, I mean, it's not noted here, and maybe that's just, because that's what you wanted the small batch to be, but it's very prominent here on the back of the reserve. It specifically says, with the addition of extra spice from its rye. And Clown, you seem to be a fan of the reserve one. Can you tell us a little bit about differences in how this one came about?
Yeah.
We were very lucky with when we began the negotiations to try and do something like this, that we could get our head around when it might be coming out, and if something like a 3-year would be around the same time everything would come out anyway. So
we didn't talk about age, actually.
I know.
In the age of these,
but the age was a part of it, because it was like, are we going to be able to get something like that? So a lot of that was on its way, and it was matching recipes a little bit and keeping things, because I really wanted, I wanted a higher end bottle that was based around time. And I think a lot of that is growing up, and I love all the whiskey I grew up drinking. Some of it is real bad for you, I think, and some of it's
what was the one whiskey that stuck out from growing up?
well, I mean, man, it's easy. I mean, it's easy. I have much love and respect, and my life is full of Jack Daniels, and,
it has influenced many bands, let's put it that way.
Well, it'd be interesting to see, I mean, you can go back and see Zeppelin pictures with, I mean, you can go back and see a lot. So it'd be interesting to see when exactly and who was bringing it in. But I think what attracted me, and we can kind of bring this back around to a few things you guys were saying. One, obviously, as a young man, being sort of into more aggressive things, could be horror, could be cars, whatever. I like the black label to the bottle, the square bottle. That when I was a kid, I was like, I like that square bottle, man. I like that.
You're not the only one.
I like that way over all this other stuff, but I'm going to tell you, I know a lot about the process that Jack Daniels is, because they offer us all wonderful documentaries on many different platforms where you can watch, and they explain their whole process. They incorporate so many wonderful things, especially in the wood area, that bring out that taste. And that is only brought out by that imagination, and that imagination making sure that people demand that consistency. And as a young man, for some reason, without ever knowing who he was, or what he did, or where the spring was, or the state, or what the philosophy was, I could taste a difference in that drink opposed to other whiskeys and stuff. And I only, which that charcoaly, just burnt wood, fits in me really well. I always enjoy it. Still drink it.
Yeah.
And, but I drink. I'll be honest with you. I don't drink as much, but what I do drink is what's in front of you.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on this a little bit, because I think it's a really mature step up from the small batch.
The malt is like really cream. There's a creaminess in the mouthfeel,
very much so,
and like just all the sensory things going on between the reserve and the regular, or the small batch. There's certainly a creaminess and like a viscosity and thickness that's really layered in there. And I know that this one has a statement on the back here that says aged a minimum of 4 years, meaning that it could have 4 to, any number of years, but a minimum of
I'm
4.
guessing it's more, it's significantly more than this, than minimum 4,
batch,
just from the color alone. I mean, it's got this rich red tone to the.
It's great. I mean, and I like them both for different reasons. I think the first one has a spunk and sort of a youthful sweetness and what's that?
Do you think it's smooth?
I don't like the word smooth, but yeah, it is incredibly sippable and drinkable. And
why don't you like the word smooth?
Because smooth is so generic, and it can be construed as positive or negative.
It's like when your friends go, like when you, like, let's say you're talking to a girlfriend of yours or something, and she goes, "Oh, I went on a date with this guy," and they go, "Well, what was he like?" "Oh, he was nice." It's like, what does that mean? Anything. Like, what the fuck does that mean? So fuck that. we don't want smooth. We want to know if are all the, I love that there is, and I looked this up before the show. And so that 36% rye, that the ability to bring balance to the power and ferocity of rye. Rye is spicy as shit. Rye gets you going. Rye is an acquired, it's like cilantro. You love it or you hate it. Rye is polarizing. And so to balance rye is skillful. And it speaks to your palate for picking it. It speaks to Cedar Ridge for distilling it and offering this, this blend or this mash bill to you. And I'm getting animated because I really like this first whiskey. And every time, I'll be honest, and I say this, I keep saying this to people, but every time we try, I don't want to call it a celebrity brand, but every time we try a brand that's represented by a more famous than us type of people, right? There is always a concern of, is this going to be a good whiskey, or is it going to be a popular whiskey, or is it going to be both?
Because you could have just gone ahead and slapped Slipknot on a bottle and it would have sold.
It would sell. Yeah. But this isn't that.
This is not that.
We've debunked that already from the backbone of who you are, who the band has been. And then all of that bundled up, and you take it and you go full scale with an Iowa distilled, Iowa corn, Iowa everything brand that just speaks to everything you guys are, and
there's an authenticity to it.
I love that, but I'm tasting it more than anything, because forget, if you never knew who Slipknot was, or you never knew who Cedar Ridge was, and you just found a bottle and you tried it, at the end of the day, all that matters is, do you like it?
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
it good? Would you drink more of it? How would you drink it? And so this reserve,
I'm very impressed with it. And what I am a rye fan. Full disclosure.
Same here.
And
love rye.
What I really like is that it is a complex grain. You need that corn background to the tasting.
Yep.
But what I really like is that there are these spicy notes, there are these peppery, leathery notes, but then there's this more rounded sweetness. And I think that is coming from the additional age, because it is a little bit more, from a mouthfeel perspective, like front to back, kind of sitting on the back of the tongue really nicely.
There's a beginning, middle, and end.
Absolutely.
To the reserve.
Absolutely.
I will say that, if just honest to God, right? I think that the Iowa small batch number 9 has a shorter finish. That's the main difference.
Yeah, well, and you've got more proof here too.
Oh yeah, 99 proof versus 90 proof. And so that little extra oomph gives it a lot more lingering. And there's age on this one that's not on the other one, I'm assuming. Right. So I like both of them for different occasions, different occasions, different environments, right? I'll drink 4 or 5 of the number 9 small batch, whereas I'll pour a little heavier and have 2 nice glasses by like the fire, you know, and just kind of contemplate life and shit, like that kind of thing.
I'm just opposite. I can't stop drinking the reserve, like, but I only drink up to a point, you know what I mean? But it's like you said, I guess you're right. It's basically a couple glasses, and then just really, it helps me go there. There's so much alcohol history in my family. And that's another part of the story, but that comes out way later. Because it's personal and big, and but I needed to get into it and do it, and hopefully, I don't believe in failure, but I do believe, this is just me, okay, but I would be embarrassed to just put my face on anything, because that's not who I am. That's not Iowa whiskey. So I need it. That's why it was a pleasure to walk around and really be given the opportunity to taste many different recipes and ways we could do it by masters knowledge is something you give. And, for all they know, I just want to put my face on it and be like, I don't care about your recipe, let's go. But I did. I walked in being like, this is the place, you guys, you're the one for me. So let's taste your mastery, let's get into it. Let me have that education. Let me bring that to the world. So it was very important that I could come as close to something that was wonderful for everyone from the beginning, because I want everyone to know that it's not a gimmick. It's a very, very hard thing to get into. I mean, just saying the words ATF can freak you out. You know, like it's a very serious business and you have to be responsible. And I'm not just going to get into alcohol, a controlled substance, and not take it 100% responsible. And that starts with going, you know, my culture and the people I want to drink with, they deserve the best quality product I can possibly give them, with my mind meeting other minds that want to do similar things, which is to do.
Yeah, you don't know us.
Provide good things.
You don't know us too well, but we drink a lot of all academically, all professionally, of course. But I think on the show alone, at this point, we've clocked over 200 and plus different spirits, and just on the show. And we're sitting in a room of 1,000 bottles, literally. But this is quality. What you've done exactly what you set out to do in creating quality.
Yeah, what's really interesting to me is you strike me as a very humble guy. Like you said, you don't want to put your face on things. To be fair, I mean, like, you guys wear masks when you perform, so you know that in and of itself.
There's an anonymity,
exactly,
and a
exactly
to the whole thing.
But what's fascinating to me, especially as somebody who has been to a Slipknot concert, who has very much enjoyed, you know, that music for a very long time, is having this very, I don't want to say calm, but like very, very subdued and intellectual conversation is sort of the 180-degree polar opposite of your stage persona. So, you know, if I might ask, how do you have such an incredible high energy stage presence and also get a chance to be so laid back and just hang out and talk whiskey with guys?
It's a good question. I have to figure out how to answer that correctly. My therapist would tell you that I'm pretty much only telling you the truth when I'm wearing the mask. So then that would mean, what kind of conversation are we having right now? If you're feeling it's humble and intellectual, well, I would say it's absolutely true too. It's 100% who I am. This person, you know, has been stricken with what all humans have been stricken with, and that's the human condition. So in my life, obviously, like all people, I've had loss. I've had children. I've had ups and downs and these sorts of things, and especially now, I work really hard on being selfless in life. And when you work on that, you sort of take the blinders off, and so much more potential presents itself. I get fascinated. I walk in and I look at a shelf of, you know, whiskey or bourbon, or, I mean, I can't drink tequila. It just does weird things to me. But there are so many amazing tequila products. And then, of course, you know, vodka will probably be something I'll be making very quickly. I'm very obsessed with infusion right now at the moment.
I know a guy like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go grab something and I'm going to put it here. And I got to do it before my wife comes in, because it's sort of interesting, because it's alcohol, but it's full of alcohol, but it's frozen to some sort because of the fermenting and the things that are in it.
Okay,
we got to see it.
Now, let's go.
Now we have to see it.
We got to check it out.
I can't take the computer.
No,
out.
we'll wait here. We'll
wait. We'll cut it till you bring it back.
Oh, gee, what is this? Maybe it is Pachuga. I'm telling you, like, I'm thinking Pachuga.
This is my mix of apples. I call it apple pie.
Damn.
But what I'm learning is, like, I dealt with it in the dark for a while. It sat in the light for a while, breaking down the sugars differently, just trying to learn. Does it, do things happen? And then, because it got cold, I wanted it to experience that, not unlike whiskey does in a barrel, outside in natural environment. That's what we do with our whiskey. It's out in a shed with just dealing with the elements, So anyway, this is about 5 gallons, and I get about 2.5 gallons of juice out of it infused. And this one's going on about 7 months. This is one of 3. I got 2 more out there, and I've already gotten 2 done. And if I could take you into my garage, you wouldn't.
I love this. This is
great.
This is my favorite part of the enther thing. Like the fact that you have that and brought that out, that's everything to me. Because
it's got the. I can just pour it right out.
Oh yeah.
Because I will tell you, it's a real pain in the ass to clean these things properly, the sediment.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I do with this, and then we can just be done with it, I guess. But another thing that I really like about this is that after I will get this into jars, then I will use temperature, I will use heat, and I have a heated garage. I turn it up to like 82, and I have all this in smaller bottles. And then the sediment will go down to the bottom. And I have a lot of friends. We drink a lot of this stuff.
I got to say, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to learn from you and hear your story of this brand. Your illustrative career in music is one that everyone that listens to this podcast, I recommend go online and look up Slipknot, look up Clown and everything you've done over the last 25 years, and just educate yourself. It's fascinating, and to see where you started to where you've come and what you're involved in.
And pick up a bottle.
And go online, pick up a bottle, buy some Slipknot No. 9. This is very, very good whiskey. Yeah. And I'm going to have another glass today or tonight.
Indeed.
Give me about a month, and you should have some of this apple pie. So
there you go.
We'll drink whatever you give us.
Do it, man.
We will try.
All right, man.
All right.
You guys be safe out there and be good, and
yes,
get to work.
Yeah. Take care. All right.
Thanks, Loud.
Right. Bye, guys. Bye. See you guys later.
The spirits consumed on this show are available at caskcartel.com. They are America's largest online premium spirits marketplace. You can follow us on social media at Cartel Hour, where you can find information about upcoming episodes as well as the free spirits giveaways we do quite often. And if you're a spirits brand that would like to come on the podcast, please email us at host@cartelhour.com or send us a direct message on Instagram. Our theme music is by Verified Picasso. Thank you everyone for listening, and remember to always drink responsibly and in good company.